Hello everyone, I'm Daryl Pritchard and I'm here to talk to you today about Starnet++, specifically about the newest release from Mikita Mizura. This is Starnet version 2, and just to give a little props there to Mikita for his hard work. Starnet++ is an application for removing stars from your astrophotography images. And once you've done so, you can use the resulting layer or resulting file to apply back in as a layer and create a separate layer only of stars, which you can then add back in later in your editing process. But this allows you to make edits to sort of your basic underlying primary subject image, such as a galaxy or nebula, without directly affecting the stars so much and perhaps causing them to get bloated or the highlights exaggerated, whatnot. And once you've got that underlying image edited, you can then add back in your stars. So about a year ago, I created a front-end batch script for facilitating the use of Starnet, which at that time it was only a command line based application, and you would drag the file that you wanted to work on into the application's parent folder, run the application to get your starless file, then copy that starless result back to your original working folder. And there's other ways around it, but I created a batch script that allowed me to leave my working files where they were and apply the script upon the file in such a way that the current working path of that file was extracted, and Starnet invoked upon the results, with the output file then written back to the original path with a appended name to distinguish the file from the original. Now with Starnet++ version 2, Mikita has provided a rather simple Windows GUI version that just gives you a pop-up box. Let's just show you that real quick. So we launch that. Oh, yeah, I deleted the GUI from the installation folder a minute ago. Let's find that and restore. Okay, so you launch the GUI, and it just gives you this small pop-up window where you browse and locate your input file, your input image, and then it will populate that. Let's just grab something here randomly. It populates the output and destination with the same file, which makes it fairly easy to just go in and add on some arbitrary file suffix to distinguish the input file from the output file. And if you want to process with a smaller tile size than the default of 256, you can click this box here, and that will use a tile size of 128 by 128. And then run the program and let it do its thing. Well, rather than take this approach, I favored my original approach that I did last year. So what I called RGB Starless, I've now created a revised, updated version. I'm calling it Starnet2 Commander. And in the description for this video, you can find the download links for Starnet2 Commander, which you'll download it as a zip file. Then we'll just run a extract all to extract that, in this case, to the desktop as a folder called Starnet2 Commander. No surprise there. And if you open it, it contains 8 files, one of which is a README file that documents in detail how to do what I'm explaining today. And then there are 3 files that are shortcuts, 3 that are icons that give the shortcuts a unique visual appearance, and then the batch script itself, which is actually trying to run it by itself. Let me edit that. It's a short program. There's more textual comments in here than there are almost actual executable steps. but I've got it kind of documented within the body there, so that if you have any questions, maybe I've answered your questions within it. And the key thing to be aware of, it's a prerequisite. The Starnet executables are usually standalone programs. You just extract Makita's files to some folder anywhere on your system and you run it from there. Because I do have these shortcuts that are linking to the batch file, I had to have a common place to go to. So I went with the traditional approach of using, as you see here at top left, the C:program files directory. So to make use of Starnet2 Commander, you want to copy the Starnet v2, CLI win folder into C:program files. With that done, we can go back to our Starnet Commander folder, just grab all 8 files and control drag into the system folder. As an administrator, you want to do this for all items. It copies all your files there. At that point, you're now through with the program files folder. And then another way of enhancing it, or enhancing how you launch Starnet, is from the Windows context menu. That is where you can right click on any given file and you can say send to. You can send that file to any number of applications. And you'll notice here in my send to menu, there are no entries for Starnet. So what we're going to do is in the README file, and toward the bottom of it, I give you the path name. If you copy that and paste it into Windows Explorer, then you'll have the path name to the send to location. A little edit there on the fly. So we've got our send to folder here, which is a system folder. And again, this time we're just going to copy those 3 shortcuts only from the Starnet2 Commander file into our send to area. Be sure that when you drag it in, it says copy to send to, so that you're not dragging it on top of some application and launching the application. So there you can see now our send to menu has those 3 shortcuts. And that would allow us now to right click a menu, right click a file, and say send to Starnet2-128, 256, or Starnet2 CMD. And that latter one is a user input driven command shell that pops up. And from that, you will be prompted to specify the tile size you want and then run the program. So with that in mind, let's see how we can run the program. There are 2 options. One is we can take those same 3 icons that we dragged to the start menu, or the send to menu, and drag them out here to our desktop. At that point, we're now done with the Starnet2 Commander file. And this would be like if you're working, if you just want to go process some files that you've previously saved as flattened 16-bit per channel files, then you could just work this way rather conveniently. Here I've got this file, this Pinwheel Galaxy file with flat.tiff in the file name. And that is I made it a small file so it processes quickly. We're going to drag that flat.tiff file onto Starnet2-256, which automatically launches, runs it with a 256 pixel tile size. And it actually ran in merely a few seconds earlier when I did this. That's what happens when you redo a video, everything slows down. And it's done. So less than a minute. And you now see we have the original file flat.tiff, but also flat_SNV2. So it appends the _SNV2 to distinguish the starless file from the original. Now, we can also do this, as I said, via the Send To menu. So let's do that. We're going to right click and say Send To. This time I'm going to choose the command driven one. And we get an error. The file already exists. Please delete and run the Starnet again. That's the extent of my error checking. Nothing too complex. So that is because it saw that the file underscore SNV2 already existed. So we'll get rid of that, delete it. Then we'll right click the flat file and say Send To Starnet2 Command. And let's make this still a relatively big number. Just make it 200. And it pauses to let you see that, okay, here's the working folder path, the input file name, and the output file name, as well as the stride size that you're working with. And it's weird, I keep getting input file and output file here today on the same line. I've seen that sometimes it's 2 lines, sometimes it's 1. Doesn't really affect operations at all, it's just a readability thing. But now that we're ready to run, we just hit enter. And it's going to take 70 files, 70 tiles to process. And it's 20% done now. Starnet++. I hope you find it useful. Well, have a great day and clear nights. So it's takes a little bit longer than the 256 pixel tile size because it's smaller tiles. Now it's done. Okay, so we're done with that. So that is how you can use Starnet from the desktop with either the drag and drop approach or the Send To. Now let's go into Photoshop. And the thing about using it within Photoshop is already tying up some of your system resources for the graphics. So Starnet2++ will run slower, but there's still times I find it almost as convenient just to go ahead and invoke it from Photoshop. And if I'm not too bogged down by the performance impacts, I may be able to still work on other things in Photoshop, such as continue my editing on the current image. So let's open that same previous image. Well, actually, I want to do it this way here. Go to the open dialog. And here's our flat. And there's the SNV2. I'm going to delete that SNV2 one this time so we don't get that error we had earlier. And just say Send To Starnet2 256 and let it do its thing. This one should be fast. And it's done. So we're still in the open dialog. We were going to open this file into Photoshop anyway. Well, we're right there where we can. So I'm going to go ahead, since I haven't opened the other file either, we will just grab them both at the same time. Select Open. So there's our working image. Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. My eyes are getting tired. And there's our starless image. So now that we're in Photoshop with both images, we just grab the layer for our starless image, drag it into the original edit layer, drop it on top, set the starless layer to differences. With that done, we can create a new layer, add merge layer, go back to the original starless layer, restore it back to normal. So we now have our star mask, our starless copy, and our original. And you can edit things, get everything you want as desired, layer blend your stars back in, and you're done. So that is Starnet2 Commander. I hope you find it useful for those of you that enjoy this kind of a workflow. There's still many that favor command line direct executions, and maybe the Windows pop-up GUI box is still another way some people prefer things, but I personally find this to be about the most convenient way I could imagine running. And I hope you enjoy making use of this. Thank you. I wish you dark skies and clear nights. Happy shooting.